Hi everyone, Caoimhin here from CIT's Blackrock Castle Observatory. In this video we will be looking at sunset and sunrise, as well as taking a look at any faint meteor showers that will be coming up in the near future. So if you're interested in seeing about all of those lovely things, make sure to stick around to the end of the video. And if you'd like to stay up to date on all of our videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and to get all of our notifications, make sure to click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button as well. So we're here looking into the south at just 9:10. This is very soon after sunset, so only the brightest objects in the sky will be visible. In fact, it's so early after sunset, only the very brightest object is visible, Venus, just over there at the edge of the screen towards the west. So we'll turn a little bit towards Venus. You can just see it there as a faint dot above the sun. 9:10 is when Venus is just starting to become visible here in the city. But you may notice if we leave the city and start pushing out into the countryside, well, Venus is still the only thing visible at this time, but it's significantly brighter and easier to see. And this is because in the city at sunset, Venus has to compete with the glow of the sun and the glow of our streetlights, so it's very, very faint. But if we push out to the countryside where there's less light pollution, Venus only has to compete with the light of the sun. So it becomes just a little bit more visible, a little bit clearer, a little bit earlier. One of the many, many benefits of having slightly less light pollution. This is how Venus is going to look this evening at just after 9. But if we push a few days into the future, you'll see that it disappears. And we're still just at 9:10. This is only a few days into the future. We're looking a little over a week into the future, but Venus has disappeared, and we'll have to come back a little closer to today for it to become visible again. So the sunset is getting later and later, which means you'll have to go out later and later to see a reasonable number of objects. But how early or how late you'll need to go out will be affected by your degree of light pollution. So we're here now just coming up to 10 o'clock in a city like Cork. We can start to see a reasonable number of objects as we come to 10 o'clock. We've got our lovely bright Arcturus, we've got some of the bright stars in Leo, Pollux and Castor and Gemini. There's certainly a reasonable amount visible, but if we push out to the countryside again, we'll see quite significantly more at the same time. We haven't gotten any later here, it's still just 10 o'clock, but there's a lot more visible in the sky because the only thing blocking out the stars is the sun. Even at sunset and sunrise, you'll see a little bit less here in the city. But we'll keep pushing forward and allow the sun to set just a little bit more. So here we are, 11 o'clock. It's definitely quite dark now. If we take a look over towards the west, there's virtually no light from the sunset left. However, if we keep pushing into the future, here we go at the end of the month, there's quite a reasonable amount of a glow. Even before the beginning of next month, before we really get into summertime, there's already a reasonable amount of light staying in our sky until 11 o'clock. So as we get closer and closer to summertime, it will become that little bit more difficult to see objects early in the evening. You'll need to go out just a little bit later. Of course, that isn't as bad if you are under darker skies, if you have less light pollution. The moon is a little bit past full on the 8th. It's a bit past full over the weekend, so it's going to be rising reasonably late anyway. But as it rises, because the time of sunset is getting so much later, you might still catch a little bit of that lovely orange harvest moon type of colour that we often see when the moon is setting at a similar time to sunrise. I'm going to bring up some of the meteor showers. So we have our May Librids and our Alpha Scorpiids here. These meteor showers aren't particularly strong. You may remember in one of our previous videos we talked about the Lyrid meteor showers. The Lyrids were just a little bit more powerful, with a few more bright and a few more meteors in general than these smaller meteor showers. But meteors happen all of the time. The Earth in its orbit is passing through little bits of dust and little bits of rock. In general, we get 5 or 6 meteors passing across our sky every hour anyway, but they will be more difficult to see when the moon is out, when you've got light pollution, and when you're close to sunset or sunrise. So it's always better to go out at a time of the year when it's really dark, when the moon isn't in the sky, and as far away from any cities as you can manage. These meteor showers are a little faint, but there's a couple of them happening at the same time from a very similar part of the sky. And meteor showers are often additive. If you have about 10 meteors going through your sky anyway, if there's a meteor shower with a rate of about 16 or 17, usually 16 or 17 extra ones. In the case of the May Librids, we can see here, it's 2 to 6 meteors an hour, a very low rate. It's actually less than what we normally have in the background. And for the Scorpiids here, we're seeing about 5. So that's an extra 5 and 2 to 6 on top of the 10 that we normally get. So even though these meteor showers are reasonably faint, they will increase our chance of seeing those lovely shooting stars over the next few days. Now, this evening and coming into tomorrow morning, the moon is right there. It's not exactly full, but there's still enough light coming from the moon that it will make it a little bit more difficult to see any meteors. As we get a little bit later in the month, some meteor showers will stop, other meteor showers will continue, and new ones will start, but the moon is also going to move just a little bit out of the sky. And you can see here, we're just at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're just a little after midnight. Jupiter's already starting to come into the sky. And as we come up to the coming mornings, I'll just bring us back to tomorrow morning, you'll see that the glow of the sun, well, it's already starting to appear here just a little as we come to 4. And there's a noticeable glow of sunrise as early as 4:30. But just like sunset, that is going to change as we get later in the month. I'll bring us back to just 3:30 in the morning here. And 3:30 in the morning tomorrow morning, we're really not going to see much glow from the sun at all. But as we come up towards the end of the month, here we are, there's a reasonable glow of sunshine as early as 3:30. So our nights are going to be getting practically non-existent. We'll still have nights, albeit very short ones, for the course of May, but as we come into June and early July, we won't technically have the astronomical definition of nighttime anymore. We'll just have twilight. However, those longer days does give us a chance to see the motion of the sun across the sky, and it gives us a good reason to get up that little bit earlier to see these objects like Jupiter and Saturn. They are still going to be visible in the mornings. And speaking of sunsets, as we come up to the end of the month, there is going to be a new object joining us, and this is one of the most difficult objects that is visible to the naked eye. It's one of the most difficult naked eye objects to actually catch. So as we come up to the end of the month, very close to Venus, just above the setting sun, we are going to have Mercury. But Mercury is never in the sky for very long. It's a good deal fainter than Venus, and it's very, very low to the horizon when it is visible. So Mercury's coming up, especially if you've got a nice clear view over to the west. You can look forward to possibly catching Mercury as we get a little later in the month. But out of all of the planets that we can see with our eyes, out of Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, Mercury is just the hardest one. It's the hardest of all of those planets for us to be able to catch. So 11 o'clock is a reasonable time to go looking at stars for the next couple of evenings. You'll get a reasonably large number of stars. This evening we'll have the moon starting to come up, and meteor showers like the Librids will be getting above the horizon. Going later is better, but of course that means staying up late, and that's always a little harder to do. 11 o'clock is a good time without being too close to morning time. If we bring ourselves into the depths of the countryside, we'll see plenty more here. And we can definitely see a lot more bright stars. There's a lot more visible in the area of Leo, but this is also going to improve our ability to see shooting stars. The darker it is, the more of those bright little flickers you can see in the sky. So we did something very similar to this in a shorter video, but bringing up our levels of shooting stars here, this kind of level you'd get from an exceptionally powerful event of an exceptionally good meteor shower family. So the Librids come from Libra, the Lyrids come from Lyra, the Leonids, which come from Leo, are one of the best meteor showers, and something like this will be about the highest rate that they've ever recorded. So we'll get our time ticking forward here, and there we go. So this is an incredible number of meteors. This is very, very high. You would need a very energetic meteor shower to see something like this. But even seeing a little bit less than this, even seeing just a few meteors in the sky can be really, really impressive. So getting out somewhere nice and dark and nice and late over the next couple of weeks, it'll be a good chance to see a few meteors before our nighttime disappears entirely as we get into summer. So I hope you all get a chance to see a few meteor showers or any other interesting objects over the next couple of weeks.